Black Panther is easily one of my favorite Marvel movies, and a big part of that is because of how inherently political the film is. From the peaceful versus radical ideologies of T'Challa and Killmonger mirroring the views of Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X, to the arguments of globalism versus isolationism, to the inherent feminism that comes from all of these strong female characters in positions of power. Ooh, that one would actually be a great video in and of itself. I'll just write that down. But honestly, the main thing that really grabs me when it comes to Black Panther is its core theme. I mean, it is not subtle in the slightest, but I think that it's still a very powerful message. At its center, I believe that the main theme of Black Panther is that when you have the power to make a positive change, then you have a moral obligation to do it. But doing the right thing is usually difficult. The very first scene of the movie shows King T'Chaka confronting his brother, Prince N'Jobu, and we later learn that N'Jobu was a member of Wakanda's secret police force that was sent to the United States as a spy. Once there, he fell in love with an American woman, and the struggles that N'Jobu both saw and faced radicalized him. Over-policing and incarceration, rampant drugs and weapons flooding low-income communities, and assassinated cultural leaders. All of this could have been prevented if Wakanda was willing to share its technology. Though this is a real challenge, since the rest of the world doesn't know that Wakanda is a technologically advanced civilization since they put on a front as a third world country. Because Wakanda was fortunate enough to be located upon a great mound of vibranium, they're one of the only African nations to have never been colonized, and a big reason for the country's prosperity is due to its intense secrecy. By revealing themselves to the world, Wakanda could be painting a massive target on itself, and this could be a massive struggle, and that is even with all of their advanced weaponry. N'Jobu believed that his brother's regime was narrow-minded and selfish, and although he went about it in the completely wrong way, believing that Wakanda should be using their technical prowess to rule the world, he really wasn't all that wrong about Wakanda having the means to bring about the positive change that the rest of the planet desperately needs. In the scene after this, we're introduced to another member of the secret police, T'Challa's ex-girlfriend, Nakia. She primarily involves herself in the conflicts of neighboring African countries, doing good wherever she can. In a later scene, T'Challa asks Nakia to stay with him in Wakanda, and she refuses, stating that she's seen too many people in need to turn a blind eye to them. She simply can't be happy while she knows that there are people struggling outside of her nation's borders. When T'Challa asks her what he can do about the situation, she plainly says that Wakanda should share what they have, the exact same dilemma that King T'Chaka was presented with earlier in the movie. Though, since the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree, T'Challa echoes the hesitation of his father. But later in the movie, we start to see this shift in perspective beginning to change T'Challa's mind. When his ally, CIA agent Everett Ross, was injured in a fight against Claw and Killmonger, T'Challa opts to bring him back to Wakanda for treatment. General Okoye repeatedly mentions how this puts the nation at risk. After all, as a government agent, Ross has an obligation to report back to the US government and reveal Wakanda's secrets. But in response, T'Challa straight up says that he can't let Ross die, knowing that they could save him. Then we're introduced to Killmonger and given his proper motivations. You see, he is the son of Prince N'Jobu, and after King T'Chaka killed his father, Killmonger worked his way up the American military system to become a perfect killing machine in order to enact his father's dream. Take the throne and use Wakanda's weapons to liberate black people all across the world by taking over the planet. Again, this is clearly not the right way to bring about change, but the core problems that Killmonger thought needed this radical solution to fix aren't exactly wrong. And here's the thing. T'Challa knows this. After taking the heart-shaped herb, he's able to commune with his father and directly confront him about killing N'Jobu and not bringing the young Killmonger back to Wakanda. T'Challa explicitly tells his father and all of the other Black Panthers before him that they were wrong to turn their backs on the rest of the world while Wakanda prospered, that they let their fear of the country being discovered prevent them from doing what was right. From that moment on, T'Challa strived to find a healthy middle ground between his previously held isolationist beliefs and the legitimately good points that Killmonger presented. After taking back the throne, T'Challa appeared before the United Nations and revealed the truth about Wakanda to the world, also announcing that for the first time in his nation's history, they were going to be sharing their knowledge and resources with the rest of the planet. In order to help facilitate this foreign aid, T'Challa sets up a social outreach department called the Wakandan International Outreach Center, and it was going to be led by Nakia. By revealing themselves to the world, Wakanda opened itself up to danger. Oh, hey Thanos. But even though the struggles were immense, doing the right thing is, well, the right thing. Alright, so now I need to take a moment to pause and acknowledge the tragic passing of this movie's lead actor, Chadwick Boseman. Due to a 4-year battle with colon cancer, he passed away in August of 2020. And because of the timing, this means that he was battling cancer while filming Black Panther. And nobody knew this. Can we just take a moment to acknowledge how freaking insane that is? With that knowledge fresh in my brain, it made me see this movie that I already loved in a brand new light, because Boseman's story elegantly fits into the movie's core narrative theme. Now look, Black Panther was not the first movie to feature a black superhero, but you cannot deny how groundbreaking it was to have a superhero film with not just a black lead, but also a predominantly black cast, a black director, and directly focuses on and celebrates black culture. To say that this movie was a cultural touchstone would be an understatement, and during the film's lead up and after its release, you could really feel how much it clearly meant to the black community. But if the movie wasn't a success, then it would probably be a long time before a project like it would ever be greenlit again. I mean, after all, Marvel's CEO Ike Perlmutter was already putting up massive roadblocks to hamper development on both Black Panther and Captain Marvel because he didn't think that general audiences would be interested in minority-led superhero films. Also, you can't forget that Perlmutter is a total racist, allegedly replacing Terrence Howard with Don Cheadle in Iron Man 2 as Rhodey because Cheadle was cheaper and because Perlmutter thinks that all black people look the same. Now, despite T'Challa having already appeared in Civil War, there were some insane expectations and pressures being put on the Black Panther solo movie, and Chadwick Boseman was very much aware of it. In an extremely emotional interview with SiriusXM, Boseman opened up about 2 black children with cancer that he was in correspondence with all throughout the filming of the movie. Representation in media really does matter, and although anybody can identify with and relate to characters regardless of ethnicity, there is something very powerful about young kids being able to look to the media they consume and see well-rounded characters that look like them, that they can be seen as equally valid in the broader pop culture. These children and their parents explained to Boseman that although they were terminal, these kids were trying to hold on until the release of Black Panther. To me, that is extremely heartbreaking, and if that doesn't explain how important this movie was, then I don't know what can. But while it's moving to see Boseman tear up during this interview, it's equally moving to know that he was also fighting his own battle with cancer to make sure that this movie was being made. Not just for him, not just for the paycheck, but because this matters. Like Wakanda, Boseman's sickness was hidden in plain sight, and with his physical health and the insane pressures and expectations put on him, he still came and delivered a fucking fantastic performance. Boseman's agent, Michael Green, has talked about how seriously Boseman thought about the roles that he took on, wanting to use his platform as best as possible. He was always asking questions like, how can I give back? How will this be valuable to the black community and the community at large? And what will I be able to tell through this role? And it wasn't just choosing the roles that Boseman thought about. He also used his influence to make positive changes on the films themselves. For example, Marvel wanted the Wakandans to speak with a more European-sounding South African accent, and Boseman fought hard for the African accent because he believed that it was important to the wider culture. He also fought for the fight scene in front of the waterfall to have the characters dancing to traditional African music because it'd be important to not just the movie's atmosphere, but for the representation of African culture that this movie was trying to deliver on. Chadwick Boseman did not have to do anything like that. He could have easily accepted roles willy-nilly, not buck the system, and just say his lines. But he clearly knew the power that media has, and he used his slice of it to bring about the most positive change that he could, even while dealing with his own very painful struggles. And to me, that's what makes him a real hero. Wakanda forever. I'm not gonna lie, it was a little weird to make this video because yes, I did rewatch Black Panther because of Chadwick Boseman's death, and I was moved because of all of the parallels between his story and the core narrative themes, but I don't really want to be profiting off of his death, which is why I'm going to be donating profits from this video to the NAACP, and I would encourage you to make some donations as well. But anyway, that's all I have for today, and if there's anything that I want to leave you with, it's, well, hold on to the people that you care about because you never know if they're going to be gone tomorrow.